Welcome to Really Old Movies. I'm your host, Harrison Skolin. Today I'll be reviewing the classic Universal monster film Frankenstein from 1931, starring the late and great Boris Karloff. Okay, so my thoughts and feelings on the plot, acting, directing, and cinematography and music for Frankenstein 1931. So to start out with the plot, I gave the plot a 4 out of 5. I think that this is the quintessential monster storyline. You know, a mad doctor, he creates a monster, right? But not only that, with this particular story, you recognize the pathos that James Whale is trying to captivate here, because he makes the monster more of a victim of circumstance than just a straight up murderer or killer. And I really like that. I really like that they make us almost feel for the monster, almost root for him even. So for that, I give it a 4 out of 5. Okay, so now acting, I gave a 5 out of 5. I think Boris Karloff, he really takes the cake as Frankenstein. I mean, he is such an endearing character. Again, you really root for, really care for him. And he doesn't even utter a single word. I think that's a testament to the acting abilities of Boris Karloff. The fact that he made us love and care for a character so much that doesn't even say anything. That is really, really talented. And another actor, in my opinion, who stands out is Colin Clive as Henry Frankenstein. He's the titular role. It's really notable because he's a very eccentric and almost strange character, you know. The way he talks, the way he moves, the way he is. He's almost crazy, but you also kind of like him and want to understand why he's doing what he's doing. You know, his It's Alive is both haunting and spectacular. And it really shows how crazy he is and how much in control he really is, too. So those two really, really stand out to me. That's why I gave the acting a 5 out of 5. Alright, now the directing. So the film was directed by James Whale, and I think he did a great job here with the casting choices and with the scene direction. But there are a few things that I noticed that I can't really ignore, and because of it, I gave it a 3 out of 5. So, for example, there are many instances, but here's a couple examples. How did the farmer know his daughter was murdered? Right? He could have just easily seen she had drowned. How does he know she was murdered? And how did the monster find Frankenstein's house close to the end of the film? Was he just going around house to house in the village, trying to find him? Those couple things here, I think, could have been done a little bit better. It really did feel like they were just trying to progress the film along. They didn't really pay attention that much, which is okay. It's not the worst thing, but I think those could have been handled a little bit better so that they wouldn't be as distracting in the final film. So because of that, I gave it a 3 out of 5. Now, in regards to cinematography and special effects, I gave it a 4 out of 5. Despite the flaws I had with the directing and whatnot, the cinematography itself was fantastic. And the scenes that really stand out to me are the ones when they're in the village during the daytime. Those look really, really good. As well as the scene at the windmill. Now, I know that was done on a stage, and you could kind of tell it was a little model that they set on fire, but still, I thought that was really impressive work that they did there, both visually, cinematography-wise, and special effects-wise. I think they were really, really well put together, really well done. And then, of course, the makeup work. Once again, Jack Pierce, he really knocks it out of the park with the more than classic, I want to say infamous makeup work he did with Boris Karloff as the monster. Because of this, we even have that image we have of Frankenstein's monster. The bolts in his neck, the flat top head. Before this film, he didn't look anything like that. In fact, in the stage versions, a couple other versions of this storyline, he looked more like Dr. Frankenstein. to kind of be like a more of a Jekyll and Hyde situation where the monster was more of the evil side of him. But in this, they really showed how he was a monster, but again, he was endearing too, and I really liked that. So again, Jack Pierce knocks it out of the park. And the fact that Boris Karloff was so willing to put on that makeup, I mean, the eyelids alone, just, it's insane how much he had to go through just to make that believable and just to put it on, you know? Really impressive work they did there. I can't imagine how painstaking and just kind of a hassle it would have been to put all that on. I want to say it was like 3 or 4 hours a day to put it on and take it off. That's insane. But he was a true master of his craft, both Boris and Jack Pierce. And one more thing I loved about the special effects was the machinery that they used to bring the monster to life. I think that was really cool. Really impressive technology. And the fact that they kept using it after this movie, it didn't just disappear. They actually used it all kinds of sequels, different films, and it was even used in Young Frankenstein. So that too is a real element in the storyline that, not in the original book, but actually added in this movie, is really quintessential for a Frankenstein film. And then lastly, the music. I gave it 3 out of 5. The opening thing is pretty cool. Makes you think of the monster and whatnot. It's a good use, but not much of a score in this film. Again, pretty commonplace in the 30s to not have as much. So that's why I won't give it too much lower than that, but I just wish there was more. I don't know. I'm a sucker for musical scores, so it was kind of sad not having that. That calculates to a 3.8 out of 5 on my Letterboxd. Again, great film. I've seen it, I think, 2 or 3 times now. I really, really like it. It's definitely a Halloween tradition now. And I think it's a perfect ending to this year for my Halloween film reviews. Alright, well, those are my thoughts and feelings on Frankenstein from 1931. Thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. And make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, any social media that you could think of, we're there. Make sure to follow us to get updates on new and upcoming episodes, as well as some behind the scenes about the week's particular film. And this podcast is released on Apple Podcasts and Spotify Fridays at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And again, make sure to follow us on social media to keep up to date with that. And that's everything. Thank you guys so much. And this has been Really Old Movies. I'm your host, Harrison Scullin. Take care.